This Russian T-72 tank is attacking Ukrainian positions in the Kharkiv region. Just look at how resilient the Ukrainians are holding their defense. Shells are literally exploding 10 feet away from their positions. Not a lot of people can withstand such a barrage. The Russians have tried to break through this place before. The Ukrainians deploy a surveillance drone to identify who's firing at them. The tank is spotted and the drone follows it. Members of the 47th Brigade launch an FPV drone with a modernized munition into the air. The tank crew notices the drone and tries to evade it, but the fate of this tank is already sealed. Just take a look at how it explodes apart. The breakthrough in this area won't happen. The battlefield in Ukraine has been the hottest spot on the planet for 3 consecutive years now. Ukrainians and Russians are constantly trying to outsmart each other in finding new military strategies. You've all seen how Ukrainian FPV drones blow the turrets off tanks and turn them into heaps of scrap metal, while the Russians have been trying to advance with their unusual turtle tanks, delivering infantry further under their armored shells than any APCs ever could. But as you can see in this video, the Ukrainians have found a way to deal with that too. Today we'll talk about the Russians' unconventional strategy, where they use rather unusual machines to break through Ukrainian defenses in cities. Check out this video. This unusual weapon, called the UR-77, has taken its position. The Russians use it to demolish cities before sending in their infantry to clear it out. But originally it wasn't designed for this purpose, and using it in urban areas causes massive, inhumane destruction. The Russians managed to fire the UR-77 before the Ukrainians even noticed the launch. Just look at the extensive damage it causes. Even though the Ukrainians couldn't stop the attack, they did spot the machine with a drone, relayed the coordinates to HIMARS, and took it out. The sheer power of the explosion shows just how destructive this machine's charges are. Why is the UR-77 so dangerous, and why do the Ukrainians try to hunt it down on the battlefield? I'll explain that later in this video. Let's get back to the battlefield. This Russian T-72 tank is rushing in for reinforcement. The Ukrainians spot it and launch a homemade drone armed with an anti-tank projectile. The drone hits right into the engine compartment. The tank crew, realizing more trouble is on the way, jump out of the moving tank. Take a look at its turret. The anti-drone electronic warfare system in the grill couldn't save this tank. Meanwhile, the FPV drone is already up in the air, guided by the operator, aiming at the weak spot beneath the turret. The fleeing crew of this tank is relieved not to become part of that fireworks show. And there's the pride of Russia, the T-90 super tank, abandoned by its crew after hitting a mine. Check out how many antennas and mesh screens to fend off drones it has. But all that defense won't help it. See how this Russian pride, the $4 million T-90 tank, gets torn to pieces by a $500 drone. The Russians came up with an interesting solution to deal with FPV drones, creating what they call turtle tanks. It might seem like an odd choice of armament at first, but hold your judgment. With most of their IFVs like BMP and MTLB vehicles destroyed, Russia had to come up with a unique solution to transport troops, and it worked. You've probably seen the video where a tank covered in thick metal sheets safely delivered infantry where regular armored vehicles would have been destroyed. The Russians realized it was a great solution for troop transport and protection against weak FPV drones and started improving the design. Take a look at this turtle. This T-72 moves across open fields which are typically mined. To protect the tank's undercarriage, they've attached a minesweeper. In this video, you can see a tank equipped with one of these minesweepers. It's also armored with metal sheets and an additional grille made of rebar. Combined with the minesweeper, it significantly increases its weight. The engine is pushed to its limit. You might notice, besides the minesweeper, an electromagnetic device is attached to the tank. It generates a magnetic field in front of the tank, triggering mine explosions 10 to 12 feet away. This turtle successfully delivered troops to positions 4 times, but not this time. Here you can see real footage of this tank moving across the field packed with Ukrainian mines. Here, the turtle rolls over several mines. Look at those powerful explosions, metal fragments flying in all directions. The vehicle is immobilized. The driver abandons the tank and flees, and what's left of the tank will likely be destroyed. The Ukrainians aren't wasting any time either. They've upgraded their FPV with an even deadlier projectile that can crack open these turtles like walnuts. Check out this video. This turtle tank hits a mine and is completely immobilized. The upgraded FPV drone calmly approaches despite anti-drone radars. The new ammunition tears the Russian turtle tank apart. Russia and Ukraine are constantly searching for new strategies to achieve their goals. When Russian generals realize the Ukrainians are beginning a counterattack, they roll out some very dangerous and unusual weaponry. This rocket system poses a significant threat due to its use of thermobaric ammunition, recognized as one of the deadliest types of weapons, second only to nuclear ones. The TOS-1 system, mounted on a T-72 tank, functions like a standard MLRS but fires projectiles with volumetric explosion capabilities. Its shells consist of 2 charges. Upon impact, the initial charge disperses a fuel-air mixture in the form of a cloud. This cloud can infiltrate any openings in structures or defensive fortifications that aren't hermetically sealed. Afterwards, the second charge ignites the cloud, generating a massive fireball in a matter of seconds, along with a forceful shockwave and vacuum that consumes all surrounding oxygen. Therefore, even if individuals somehow survive the explosion, the subsequent pressure drop ensures their inevitable demise due to the rupture of internal organs. Some lucky survivors have described feeling like all the air vanishes, making it impossible to breathe due to a lack of oxygen in the affected area. This occurs when all available oxygen is consumed in the chemical reaction, creating a temporary vacuum, hence the term vacuum bomb. The horror of this weapon is accompanied by its inherent lack of accuracy. The TOS rocket complex was not designed for precision but to blanket entire areas, burning everything within. Surviving in the blast zone of TOS-1 rockets is practically impossible, except perhaps by sheer luck. The system can simultaneously launch 24 rockets with a caliber of 220 millimeters, covering an area of 10 acres. Fortunately, their firing range is limited to just 4 miles, restricting their use to the battlefield. Ukrainians have not only managed to neutralize these systems, but also occasionally capture and redirect them against the Russians. As of now, at least 10 TOS-1 units have been seized by Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainian armed forces prioritize capturing these systems over destroying them if conditions allow. So what makes the UR-77 so dangerous? The UR-77 is a Soviet-made mine-clearing vehicle. It was developed in the 1970s to help engineers quickly clear paths through minefields. That allows the armored forces to maintain their offensive momentum and overcome enemy defense lines more quickly. The UR-77 is built on the chassis of the MTLB, a versatile track transporter. Basically, the MTLB is the Russian version of the American M113. Take a look at its launcher and 2 line charges that are mounted on the roof. The demining charge, encased in a nylon shell, looks like a 300-foot fire hose filled with C4 explosive. This charge is neatly packed into a specialized bunker located at the rear of the delivery vehicle. Watch how special rockets are used to transport the charge over enemy minefields during flight. These rockets are launched from the UR-77 meteorite launcher, controlled by a special console. When they reach the end of the active part of their flight path, the rockets separate using a disconnection device. After that, a brake cable slows the charge's descent, ensuring precise placement. The UR-77 then backs up, straightening the charge line. An electrical impulse is sent through wires from the control console to detonate the charge. When it goes off, the entire demining charge explodes, causing any mines within the minefield to detonate as well. This blast clears a path for vehicles and infantry to move through enemy territory. The inhumane tactics of the Russian command are shocking. Here's a video showing the UR-77 being used in urban conditions. The Russians are using this weapon to wipe Ukrainian cities off the map, leaving nothing standing, just to advance through the scorched earth without facing resistance from the Ukrainian army. And that's exactly what Russia did. They used this machine at the beginning of the war during the assault on Mariupol and Bakhmut. In this war, both sides often repurpose weapons for purposes beyond their original design. The UR-77 is a widely utilized weapon holding significant importance for Russia, especially due to its strategic approach of employing massive tank attacks. Such tactics require clearing Ukrainian minefields, making the UR-77 a vital asset in this war. Fortunately, the number of UR-77s in Russia is limited, and they have a range of just 10 miles. Ukrainians are trying to neutralize this weapon before it can be deployed and ready to fire. Russia also has a specialized mine-clearing vehicle that is hardly suitable for offensive purposes, possibly only for running things over. For demining fields and continuing the offensive, the Russians use vehicles like the BMR-3M Vepr, mounted on a Russian tank. However, its effectiveness isn't as good as you might expect, as seen in this video where the Vepr manages to detect and neutralize a couple of mines, but the next one explodes and stops it. Reconnaissance drones and artillery will definitely take care of it. The vehicle has been destroyed. If you want more episodes, please like and leave comments. This will be a great incentive to release a new video. See you soon.